came in as Glacier in the WCW, you were part of, you had Mortis, you had James Mitchell, you had Ronnie Clark, you had all these different types of characters, but yet at the same exact time, on the other channel, you had Steve Austin middle fingering. You had Hulk Hogan in WCW, NWO, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall. Yeah. What was your relationship like with Hulk Hogan during this time when you're coming in trying to bring in a different set of wrestling characters and he's trying to go from yellow and red and eat your vitamins and say your prayers to let's kick ass. This is going to be real. It's going to be based in reality, but you're out there with snow flying over you. And, what was your relationship like? Did he ever talk to you about this?
No, you know what? I mean, I just kind of had like a professional working relationship with Hogan. Never really got to know him on a real personal level. But yeah, I mean, the thing was, I go back to kind of what Eric was saying during that time, and I agree with this, is, I think professional wrestling should be, it's always, I heard it said one time, it's almost like when the circus comes to town, there should be something for everybody, and I know Eric looked at that as kind of like a buffet of talent, and you think about it, we had during that era, and we really did. And granted, when this thing called the NWO happened, we all know that everything else kind of took a back seat to that because it was a phenomenon that no one could really predict that it was going to blow up the way it blew up. And all this, what was going on with WWF at the time. And we were going through that attitude era. I mean, man, it was the greatest period of wrestling ever. And that's not my opinion. That's a lot of other people's opinion, and so, I knew what our job was. And I knew that, when we went out there, our job to go out there is do something a little bit different, give people a little bit of a, like I said, a little bit of something different on the buffet, so to speak, and break up a little bit of that, because as we all saw, once it got to where, the NWO started to kind of, really take over everything, then it became kind of too much of a good thing, and we all kind of know how that played out. So, it was, I will say this, Steve, I was fortunate enough to be there through the whole rise and fall of Monday Nitro, really, and it was great. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And the one thing that I'm so proud of through that whole era is the fact that, one, just the friends I made, the guys you just mentioned, I'm still great friends with Brian Clark, with Ernest Miller was still one of my closest friends. James Vanderberg, Jim Mitchell, he's one of my just dear friends. So, it was the friendships that were made, which is, once again, the inspiration for our film, the story of our film. But the fact is that, I was so fortunate, like I said, to be a kid from Brunswick, Georgia, which is a small little, not small, but a smaller beachfront community, in South Georgia over there, which it was a great place to grow up, and I still love to go back. But here I am. I'm an active part of what is, arguably one of the greatest rosters of all time. And I was there.
I think it is, honestly. Yeah, 96, 97 WCW. Yeah. It's very hard to touch when you had brawlers, high flyers, strongmen, karate, masked. It had, like you said, a buffet of wrestling, and for a long time in some companies, it was like a machine, just like, doop, okay, you have muscles and you're tall. Doop, okay, you have muscles and you're tall. Doop. Now, WCW, the time you're talking about, had big men, small men, it had everything you could think of. So if no one's ever watched WCW back in the day.
It was Eric introduced the cruiserweight division. He introduced the luchador, the luchadors, which was awesome for us getting to work with those guys a lot. And it was just the whole everything that with the Nitro girls and all that. I mean, it was a huge spectacle. Everything was. I mean, when it came to town, and the same thing with WWF at the time. I mean, we'll just say WWE, because I know now that we refer to it as that.
You can say that. The Panda Bear is not going to come get us.
Right. But, during that time, because we were competing, for that Monday Night War, we're competing for the attention of the wrestling fan. We got to win. Both companies won. And most of all, the fans won. And so if WWE came to town or came anywhere near where you were, or WCW, man, it was the hottest ticket in town. And to be someone who was a part of that and got to live that at that level and get to become colleagues and friends with the likes of, like you said, Hulk Hogan, Scott. I had met Scott earlier in my career. Didn't know Kevin until getting to know him during WCW, but just Ric Flair, Randy Savage, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, those guys all when they came in,
that roster is insane.
Sting. Yeah, I mean, it just, it goes on and on and on.
Conan, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko.
You could just keep going and going.
It's like an endless list of stars.
Yeah, Bobby Heenan doing commentary, Dusty doing commentary on some of my matches. Michael Buffer, yes, Tony Schiavone. I mean, it was like, going to work as hard as it was, and it was a grueling, hard grind of a schedule. But man, I loved it. And some of that was just, the benefit of being young,